Is artificial intelligence actually intelligent? And can it ever so become if it is not now so? So we could approach this issue in various ways, and we can think about some such way that seems to be foolproof, as far as it seems. A key distinction to mind in this connection could be that of um, appearance and subject. What does that mean? So let's say that I pick up a book and I'm reading the book and it reveals to me lots of awesome ideas, stuff that I could never think up on my own. Um, what's the correct inference? The correct inference is that intelligence has something to do with the creation of this book. Why? Well, how else could it have come about? If ink spilled, could it have made this book, Hamlet, whatever it might be? No, it's inconceivable. So, how could it have come about aside from the activity of intelligence? And yet, where would we locate the intelligence to which we attribute the existence of this book? Would we locate it in the book? Can I point to the book and say, oh, that's where the intelligence is? Right? Can I look at it under a microscope and say, you know what, that's where the intelligence is? No, of course not. Right? The intelligence is to be attributed to the author, right? To itself, basically, what we can call the author. Right? Meaning, it's also not to be attributed to, say, um, the mouth from which words come out, and a hand which writes. A hand itself is not intelligent. A mouth itself is not intelligent. Teeth are not intelligent. None of that is intelligent. Intelligence is what it is. It might be able to be self-supervised. Right? When I'm thinking, somebody asks me, "What color is the sky?" and I'm thinking, "Okay, sky is that," and I've seen these different colors. What's the correct word in my language? I'd say that's intelligence. But that activity is not, again, my mouth or my hand or anything like that. And it certainly is not the pages of the book, and it's not the binding of the book, and it's not the letters. It's none of that. Right? That's an appearance of intelligence. That's a product of intelligence, but it is not intelligence itself. Um, Even more, perhaps, or an equally obvious example, but that's still pretty simple, could be, say, some system of pulleys which shows the correct appearance at the right time. I'm looking for a prize at the fair. Yeah, I open one drawer and it says, no, keep going. A sign falls down or pops up and says, not here, keep going. Would I say that intelligence belongs to anything that I see here in and of its own self, that the intelligence belongs to the sign, right, to the letters? No, no more than with the book. Now, I can also here make an abstraction, meaning a concept in my mind, that I can call this system of pulleys. Would, excuse me, intelligence applied to that abstraction, to that concept? We get the point, right? I'm playing with this pulley system. The letters come down. They say, no, the prize is not here. Pull out another drawer. It says, keep going. Right? It's makes sense to me. It's not random. Right? So I form a concept in my mind. Oh, the system here, the pulley system. Could I attribute intelligence to that concept? No, of course not. There's nothing internally, intrinsically existent and organized that concept would designate. It's just something in my head, right? So we say hopefully, or we can hopefully grasp kind of the idea here at hand. Some other simple examples. I see uh, an object such as a chair. How could the chair have come about? Well, ultimately, being that it's not, unless I call a rock a chair or something like this is something clearly made. So somebody must have thought it up, maybe sketched it out. A craftsman or woman must have constructed it, or somebody constructed a machine which constructed it, or somebody constructed a machine which constructed a machine which constructed it. But ultimately, I have to trace my way back mentally to intelligence, right? But that intelligence cannot be located in the chair or in the machine that made the chair if a machine made it, or in the machine which made the machine that made the chair. We get the point, hopefully. How does that apply to artificial intelligence? Well, the same principle certainly seems to hold. There's no degree of complexity that could be had that would ever make it appropriate to ascribe intelligence to an appearance of mind. So, again, let's say that I'm reading a book and it's very simple. And it's clear to me then that the book itself is not intelligent. Right? Obviously, Dr. Seuss or whatnot. But now I read a very complicated book. I'm reading the book where it says E equals MC square. I'm reading, again, Hamlet, something like that. And I say, well, now that it's so complicated, it must be that the intelligence actually is in the book. Obviously not. Right? Let's say that somebody's saying to me something very simple. Hi, how are you? So I understand that intelligence is not in the mouth from which the words come. But now somebody's saying to me something very complicated. So I change my judgment. I say, oh, actually, the intelligence is in the mouth or in the teeth or in the throat, right? Or anything like that. No, of course not. So just so here, right? Let's take something a step beneath, arguably beneath artificial intelligence, such as a calculator. We see that we can set up the elements of our experience, metals, plastics, whatever it might be, given the given calculator. We can set that up so as to provide outputs that for us make sense given the inputs. A person, a mind, can understand why, say, 2 plus 2 equals 4. There's a group made up of an element and an element, one thing and another thing. And then there's another such group, and then the plus sign means combine them, and that means an element, an element, an element, an element. Shorthand is 4. That makes sense. We can use our intelligence to grasp that. We can then, again, work with the material that we have in the world, again, the metals, the plastics, to set up a sort of system, electricity, that will give us that correct appearance when we plug in a given input, 2, and the calculator shows 4. So we hopefully understand at that point. Obviously, intelligence is not to be attributed, just as with the book or the pulley system, to the calculator. There's nothing there to attribute intelligence to. That's ridiculous, right? Intelligence is to be attributed to the person who made the calculator, or to the person that made the machine that made the calculator, and so forth, as with the other examples. But let's say now we plug in a really complicated sum, 87.93 to the power of 958.720, whatever it might be. It's very complicated, and the calculator still gives me the correct answer. Would I change my judgment and say that now that it has reached a certain level of complexity, it must be that intelligence belongs to the calculator? No, obviously not. No more than with the person who's speaking, with the book, the text of which I'm reading, and so forth. Finally, let's get to what's called artificial intelligence. Just as is the case with the calculator, we can, certainly, as has been demonstrated now, arrange the elements of our experience, metals, magnetized metals, electricity, different things like that. We can arrange these things so as to provide appropriate outputs based on given inputs, such as the input of text. Right? I can type in what is the sky, or excuse me, or also what is the sky, but also what color is the sky, just like I can ask another person. And that is converted into, say, electrical signals, whatever the case might be, and then an output is rendered to me. The sky is blue. However, that no more indicates, or can in principle ever indicate, that intelligence is to be attributed to anything but intelligence as it is found in us, in people. Then intelligence can be attributed to the calculator if it gives a correct answer. We get the point? As it concerns AI, we have the content of experience, as with a calculator. For example, screens, keyboards, metals, stuff like that. Right? We also can form a concept. Artificial intelligence. There's a given name, and then I can kind of visualize. Maybe there's some kind of like cloud of electrical signals or whatnot. Maybe I even think of a person when I think of AI. Right? Maybe I've named my personal AI, given it a particular name. So we have, again, the physical materials, and then we have our concept. None of that is eligible to be a candidate for the attribution of intelligence. You get the idea? Again, a book, no matter what it shows, we will never say the book is intelligent, no matter how complicated it is. There's no amount of possible increase of complexity that would ever change that judgment. A given system of pulleys and levers that shows the correct thing at the right time, we would never attribute intelligence to it. no matter how complicated it gets, and no matter the complexity or the correctness of the outputs that it gives us, right? No matter what a person says, even, we would never say, oh, intelligence belongs to your mouth, to your teeth. Indeed, another good example, I'm video chatting somebody. What's the correct analysis of this experience, of this appearance? Well, clearly that somewhere there's a person, there's a mind, and it's giving, I'm communicating with this mind. This mind is brought into contact, or that mind is brought into contact with my mind. With that said, would that ever make it correct to say that intelligence belongs to the screen itself? Maybe the person is in there in the screen. Knock, knock, who's there? Right? No, of course not. It's an appearance which stands for intelligence, but cannot itself ever be intelligent. And no matter what I'm told during video chat, no matter how complicated the answer is, I will never, and I can never, unless I lose my marbles, say that the screen itself, the appearance itself, is intelligent. So, just so with quote unquote artificial intelligence, no matter the complexity of the response, it can never ever be appropriate to attribute intelligence either to any of the elements that make up the systems that we call artificial intelligence, the circuits and the electricity and the metals and such, nor to the concept that we have concerning these activities, which we call artificial intelligence. And that is so, no matter the complexity and correctness of the responses that are rendered. Meaning, already, artificial intelligence can pass certain tests, such as would try to discriminate between a human and a computer, right? If I'm typing, and I don't know who's answering, a human or a computer, already the artificial intelligence is so complicated and so kind of incredible that it can generate the correct outputs for me, and I might not be able to tell. There's no way. It'll tell me hello when I say hello. It'll talk to me and all of that. With that said, even if that was exaggerated by a million times, right? Even if it would be able to generate outputs that are, according to us, from our perspective, absolutely correct and precise in any and all circumstances, and write the best literature that we judge to be so, all of that, that would never ever change the principle. We get the point. No more, not to get too repetitive, no more than the complexity of a book could ever make it correct to say that intelligence lies with the pages or the text, in the complexity of the outputs generated by certain arrangements of elements in our experience, again, the circuits, the electricity, and so forth. No amount of the complexity or correctness of those outputs can ever make it correct to say that intelligence belongs to those elements, to the hard drive, to the electricity, nor to the concept that we have in our mind that we call artificial intelligence. So, in short and in summary, artificial intelligence, excuse me, is not intelligence, nor will it ever be intelligence. Not now, not in 1,000 years, not in 1,000,000 years, not in 1,000,000,000 years, no matter what happens. It can never, ever be correct to say that intelligence belongs to anything but itself, to anything but intelligence. And that includes, quote unquote, artificial intelligence. So we can think about it. Thank you for listening.